I'm Ellen Wanjiru with blackfilm.com, and I'm chatting with Bob the Drag Queen from HBO's Emmy-nominated unscripted series, We're Here. Hi, Bob.
Hi, how are you?
I am so good. I've been waiting for this moment since I watched season two. Um, I had the good fortune, right, of catching up the first 5 episodes of this upcoming season. And I got to tell you, my heart is swollen with even more love, understanding, and acceptance. So to you, Shangela and Eureka O'Hara, I say thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I mean, thank you for enjoying the work that we're doing with HBO. We're really proud of this show. A lot. We're very very proud of this show.
I can imagine why. And so the synergy between the three of you is incredible to witness. So I wanted to know, how did that beautiful trifecta come to be?
So we were all chosen actually by the creators of the show. Like
Right.
Eureka Sharon and I had all worked together before, but not particularly closely. Like we weren't like best buddies or anything. We just all, had a mutual respect for each other and each other's art. And I think what makes the show really wonderful is that we're actually able to do our own thing while uplifting each other. So, like, if you look at a show kind of like Queer Eye, it's like, five
Mhm.
people working on one person. Whereas on this show, we really get to do our own things. It's more like we come into town together to support each other. We break off, do our own thing. At the end of the week, we have a show and tell.
Yeah. And you know what this reminded me of? Which one of my favorite films, particularly when the intro of each episode is Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything,
Mhm.
Julie Newmar. I'm obsessed with that film. And so, seeing you guys just brought back a lot of wonderful memories. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So what's unique about this series is that it's not a makeover or a competition show, right? So what would you say makes We're Here different?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily about the show trying to be different or like doing anything particularly to stand out. I think that the content of the show speaks for itself. I mean, it's one of the only drag competitions on TV that isn't. I mean, it's only one of the only drag shows on TV that's not competition based. We're not competing with each other. There's very few drag shows like that on TV right now.
Right.
And also the diversity and inclusion in the casting on this show is really remarkable. I'm really proud to say that we have so many, or that we're really telling lots of phenomenal stories on the show.
And is the diversity also the same behind the camera, behind the scenes?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm really happy to say that this show has people who are um, trans, non-binary, different races. Working on this show is really remarkable.
Gotcha. And so, what I love most about the series is just how transformational it is for the drag daughters, which I love, their friends and family members, and also for the people watching us. I swear, I'm not the same person I was prior to watching the show,
Oh
and I
wow.
yeah, and I credit that to the work that you all are doing. What transformation would you say you went through during season two?
Well, I mean, for season two was really uh, it took, first of all, it took 10 months to film the entire season because of COVID restrictions. So the appreciation that I had for just being able to work again was really profound. And I've always appreciated my coworkers, but I appreciate them to a much bigger, different degree level after being apart for so long. And I don't mean just changing Eureka. I mean everyone from our costume design team to hair to makeup to our set designers, the camera crew, the sound people. You know,
Yeah. And, I'm glad that you brought that up because I was curious about the initial anticipation you had going into shooting season two before production was halted due to COVID-19 versus going into shooting 13 months later. Like, how different were those initial moments?
well, when we were shut down because of coronavirus season one. And it was, I mean, the whole world was in a really scary place at that time. I mean, when I say like it felt terrifying, we got shut down right at the beginning. We got shut down before the country got shut down, actually. So we were really nervous, really terrified, genuinely afraid for what was going to happen next.
Yeah.
And then coming back, we were just really cautious. We actually got shut down once during production as well of season two, and then they had to take like a couple of months, like 3 or 4 months off to start filming again.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so there's so many things about this series that's just has stayed with me, and I think it will continue to do so. Specifically, the participants, right, the drag daughters, and the connection, with their families. I was particularly drawn to James and Akila. And
Mhm.
so I was curious as to, which participant or who were you most drawn to or connected with?
Well, I mean, I had a strong connection with all of my drag kids, and I'm not just saying that. I mean, I really invest. We're coming to these towns and asking people to really trust us with their lives and tell us their stories.
Right.
So I like to do the same with them and tell them my story as well, and install some trust in them. I had a really close connection with Aquila. I mean, that was a really emotional week, really emotional
Yeah.
time hanging out in Alabama with Aquila. It was really transformative for me.
Yeah, that certainly resonated with me on so many levels. That episode definitely hit differently for obvious
Hmm.
reasons, particularly the convo between you and the foot soldiers from Bloody Sunday.
Yeah.
Your reaction to the reality and trauma of our history, that is something we at some point in our lives have felt and have reacted to. But there was something cathartic about watching you experience that. And so, like, how did you feel about being that open with your emotions in that scene?
So Miss Lowry, who is the lady who was sitting all the way to the left, Miss Lowry.
Mhm.
So there was Miss A Free Miss Lowry, and then I'm not great with the other two's names. I know me and Miss Lowry have stayed in contact. I like call her every once in a while. We just chat. And she was really, when she was telling the story about being on Bloody Sunday, on that bridge. Um, a part that I don't think made the cut was her talking about how she had seen that she was doing an interview somewhere, and she had seen footage of the attack for the first time. She had never seen this
Mhm.
footage, and then she saw herself. She saw like herself as a teenager running into a cloud of tear gas and being attacked by police officers, and how visceral her reaction was to that, and how powerful it was for her to like share that
Yeah.
and really that really spoke to me. And then I started having some survivor's guilt, where you
Sure.
feel like a lot of people had to sacrifice a lot for me to be here, and feeling like I have to do, feeling a sense of responsibility, but also a sense of like shame that it wasn't me. And I was also watching Miss Lowry's sister go through the same thing, because Miss Lowry's sister was there, and she was not, she didn't receive any injuries, any serious injuries. And
Mhm.
Miss Lowry had received like several stitches and was like concussed and quite publicly attacked by the officers. And it was just, I in that moment I was just thinking about all the things that people have endured so that I could be where I am today.
Right. Same. Same. That was
Yeah.
such a special and again profound and powerful moment. And that's what makes the season so incredibly special, because it dives into the intersectionality between civil and LGBTQ plus rights, right? And
Hmm.
so I love what you said in that episode. You said the struggle between people of color and queer people is not mutually exclusive, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think, or what do you think makes it complicated for people, particularly people of color, to connect those two struggles?
I think that sometimes in the Black community, there will be conversations about queer people as if there are not Black people in the queer community. They'll talk about queer people and b- as if they're not also talking about Black people,
Mm,
which I find really strange. And I think about how often, queer people have been erased from history. Um, or if they're not erased, their queerness is certainly erased from history or played down. Even in our most iconic movies that have queer narratives, for somehow we just don't really like when I actually watched The Color Purple last night,
mm.
and Celie's entire queer storyline was really kind of just not played down in the film, but like when people talk about the movie, we rarely talk about the fact that Miss Celie from The Color Purple is a queer icon.
We
You know what I
never
mean?
talk about that.
She fell in love with Shook Avery
Yeah.
and had a relationship with her, and it seems like we're just somehow just in the midst of talking about one of the most iconic Black films of all time, we kind of just breeze over that one part, or James Baldwin's
Mm.
contributions to the civil rights movement and stuff like that.
Wow, that
Or even Dr. Angela Davis, who was a proud out queer woman. Her queerness has somehow been kind of hushed, not
yeah,
by her.
by the outside, yeah. Do you think that's
Yeah.
something that's ever going to be different, to change and not shied away from in terms of
I think it is already changing. I don't know that the change is incredibly rapid, but it
right?
is changing. You know what I mean? To quote Martin Luther King, the moral arc or the universe is long, but it does bend toward justice. So we may not all get to see the fruits of our labors, but the tree will still yield fruit.
I love that. It makes me think of, well, the show in its entirety makes me think of one of my favorite Nikki Giovanni quotes about visibility. You've got to find a way to make people know you're there. And I feel like that's, the cornerstone of the show, giving people an experience and a stage to be who they are
Yeah.
and to be comfortable. And that is such a beautiful thing. And it's, it transcends just across the board, right? Just in terms of
Mhm.
who we are and chasing, what we believe in and who we're trying to be. So, that makes me think
Also, and not only that, I do believe that the queerness and civil rights will come to light anyway. All the truths will eventually be exposed in the end. Sometimes it may take a really long time,
yeah,
but the truth will always find its way. It will always rear its head.
that's very true. And I know that the three of you, Eureka and Shangela, are, well, rather serve as consultant producers on the show. How would you say that level of involvement has impacted the series?
Oh, and profoundly.
Right.
Actually, this year we're supervising producers. We've been upped in our game this year,
Okay.
because to be clear, it's really not a vanity title. I want to say what me and Shans and Eureka do. We hire the entire drag creative staff. So we hire all the designers, we
Mm,
hire the makeup artists, we hire the hairstylists, we hire the choreographers. We come up with the numbers. We hire the people who make the mixes. We come up with the numbers we come up with the numbers ourselves.
wow,
Like, we actually come up with the numbers and plan them and think about them and consult with the people who are making the mixes that the numbers go into. So we really are, it's not just like a title handed to
sure.
us with little work. We're like working really hard for it.
And honestly, that comes across. It truly does. And especially, I wish I could go more into detail with certain aspects of the episodes. I don't want to spoil. I don't want to reveal anything
Yeah.
because there's so much.
I will give one really not a
Ooh,
spoiler,
yes.
but like, I will say
Okay.
my solo performance in Selma, I'm really, really proud of. And I'm really happy to say that I was able to incorporate my
Your
niece
niece.
into the
Yes.
performance. And I won't tell you all how, but it's really wonderful. And that's my brother's daughter.
Right.
My real life niece is actually in the performance. And you'll have to check it out to find out how it's really, really cute. She
Honestly,
was so adorable.
that's what I wished I could talk about because it blew me away. It was so incredibly
That was
special.
my own brainchild. It's an idea that I had in my head for a really long time. I was like,
Wow.
I want to do this, but I just never thought about, and I never, had time to figure out how to when and where. But I was able to figure it out for this show, which was really remarkable.
It was brilliant. It was
Thank
brilliant.
you.
Yeah. So could you give us a snippet of what people can expect from season 2 in terms of participants?
I will say, we really pushed the boundaries of inclusion last year, and we're going even further in season 2. And by last year, I mean 2019, when we actually filmed. Oh my God, it was so long ago.
Right.
Oh
It's
my
a long time
God.
ago.
We're pushing the boundaries of inclusion even further this year. I'm really, really proud of the work that we're doing. I cannot believe, I'm really proud of the casting team, and the stories that we're telling. It's really amazing. Last season we were able to tell stories of people who were differently abled, and also not exploiting anyone's
Right.
disability, but like, we actually had a few people on the show who were differently abled, but we didn't even make it part of their story because it didn't seem imperative. Like in season 1, um, Brandon and his wife Michaela were Shangela's drag kids in Twin Falls. The trans man and the cis woman who were dating on stage. They had like a little wedding on stage.
Mhm.
He actually was missing one of his feet, but we didn't make it a big part of the story because it seemed like it would have been exploitative.
Right.
Um, but whenever it did seem imperative, like in you know in Rustin, Eureka had a kid who had been in a really upsetting motorcycle accident, and it was a big part of her narrative. So we included it in the story. So I'm really proud to say that we're really working hard at listening to people, letting them, like, just amplifying their voices and letting them tell their own stories.
And there's so much trust that goes into that, both ways. And thinking of some of the stories that were shared, so incredibly personal and not always easy to speak out loud. So not only does this show allow people to be themselves as they are, but it's lots of teachable moments,
Yeah.
in each episode, and I love that. We're Here returns for its 8-episode second season on Monday, October 11th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard, 10 p.m. Pacific time. And it actually debuts on National Coming Out Day. Like, I think that's
Yeah.
perfect. That is perfect. Episodes will debut weekly on HBO and will be available to stream on HBO Max. So I will leave you with this. You all are changing lives and mindsets, right? So that makes you change agents. And I don't know that there's, any more important job as it relates to human rights, and how we show up to live our lives every day. So thank you so much for, playing your part in that direction. It's so
My
appreciated.
pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This has been amazing. Thank you.
Awesome. We appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. Be well. Be safe, everyone.
Thank you.